Podcast with Rich Keefe. It's the DORK Podcast. Keefe Davey. It's the DORK Podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Raven Von Davin. All hail the king of ginger ale. It's Ryan Davey. Davey, how are you?
I'm feeling spooky tonight. Feeling macabre.
Yeah, it's All Hallows Eve.
Devil's Night. If you fans of The Crow.
Yeah, hell yeah. Devil's Night. Crazy.
Yeah.
They go wild. Speaking of Devil's Night, I just get back from Las Vegas. Took the red eye.
Sinner.
I have a lot to discuss real quick. I'm going to throw a lot of things at you. One, I never really want to be the person that's just like, hey, you know what airline sucks? This airline. But let me tell you, Spirit Airlines.
The fung, as I call it, the funghua of the sky.
Blows, dude. The flight there got delayed. Guess how? We boarded on time. We're all sitting there. We get a little fucking person comes up on the mic and goes, well, we're just looking for our pilots. They didn't have pilots for the plane. So I said, I'll drive the fucker. And so I ran up there. No.
I ran up there.
It's on the way home. And again, when you're doing a weekend trip, every hour matters. Like every hour to get there matters. Every hour home matters. And then so I'm taking the red eye and sitting there in the airport. And I'm sitting there with my buddy Bales because he's flying to Philly. I'm flying to Boston.
Here I am.
He goes, why don't you just check on your phone, make sure your flight's on time? I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Nope. Fucking didn't tell anybody. This is like an hour and 20 minutes. That became like an hour and a half. And this, I swear it's the smallest seats in the world. Mm-hmm. And you have to pay for water.
I was just about to say the biggest surprise for me is like, oh, this is the cheapest flight ever. And they're like, you can have like one carry-on bag. I'm like, all right, cool. Like carry-on and a personal item. So you can have like a carry-on and a backpack. And then they're like, everything else, you want a seatbelt? $20. You want water? $5. You want to go to the bathroom? $2. Like number one or number two.
Carry-on was money. I had to pay for the carry-on.
Oh, that's right. No,
item I think was free. Carry-on I had to pay for. And then if you wanted to pick your seat, any seat, even a shit seat, if you just wanted to pay, which I didn't, so I just got like a random ass seat. But that was a fucking disaster. But Las Vegas, great time. Never been to Vegas before. Had a lot of fun. How about this for a story though? Because you know me, I am cheap, for lack of a better word.
Careful with money.
But I like to have fun. I am happy to gamble,
which is odd. You were all kinds of frozen right there. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Oh, I'm in my right
I'm here.
Mind. I got you.
I'm back now. You were all sorts of frozen.
Let me see. Devices. Look at this. Boom. Will this help? I don't even know. All right, we back. I can hear you. You can hear me.
I'm here. So yeah, I lost you at, let's see. Let's take this from the top.
Money.
I'm careful with money. There we are.
Yep. So a couple of my buddies are playing blackjack. I'm like, I'm not really going to play blackjack. So I'm going to take a lap. I'm going to go do some video poker. And so I put $100 into the machine, but I'm playing like $1, $2 hands, right? Just like, killing time, getting drinks, kind of whatever.
Yeah.
And then, I lose and I'm like, whatever. I lose like $25. So I get up, go to another table like later on. So I have $75. I win like $1. So now I'm sitting there at 76 and I'm like, most of the tables I've sat at, it's $1, $2, or $5 a bet. I click.
You don't want to bet at all.
I click max bet, thinking it was $5. It was not. It was $76. And I'm like, oh no. And then like all the buttons, all the lights went out. So there was like no option to cash out. There was no option to lower it to like another number. In. So it was one hand of video poker for $76. And I was like, I think I'm going to be sick. And so the only button that was lit up was the deal button. So I was like, fuck, here we go. Click deal. I get 2 8s, a 9, a 3, and like a fucking 6. And I was like, something. Don't quote me on the last 2, but it was something like that. There was no face cards. And it was,
It was 889.
889.
Yeah.
2 shitty cards, not face cards, because I was playing jacks or better.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, we've made it this far. So I click on both 8s. I'm going to keep both 8s. I'm going for 3 of a kind. If I get 3 of a kind on a $76 hand, I could buy the town. Click deal. Fucking nothing. Out $76 on one hand of video poker.
I love that. It's like that scene in Swingers when he's like, I don't want to bet at all. Perhaps you become more comfortable at a lower stakes table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you're right. As soon as I started shitting on Spirit Airlines, the Wi-Fi got hacked.
They say they don't have any Wi-Fi on their planes, but they can hack yours, right?
Oh, damn. Oh, they don't. Yeah, they don't. Shit. Oh, and then everybody around me, everybody on the plane's like, I said I was never gonna.
Oh, they did it again. See, we go with Spirit again, and we're already frozen again.
Not good.
You back? You got to stop talking about Spirit. Yeah, you got to stop talking about it.
All right, this is brutal. Saw this over the weekend. Just terrible news. Matthew Perry died.
Yeah.
Pick of the podcast for Matthew Perry, who had been through a ton, man. Like the addictions that he had, and I saw a bunch of the interviews that he's done. Going back just a couple of years ago, where he seemed like he had himself in the right direction, or headed in the right direction, and then all of a sudden TMZ pops up. Boom. What was he? 54 years old.
54 years old. And so the reports that I'm hearing is that like the drowning, but he had like a heart attack, like in his hot tub,
right? Oh,
after playing pickleball.
Unreal,
man. Like,
and I'll tell you, I never loved that show. That was not my favorite. It was a lot of people's favorite. It was obviously extremely popular, maybe the most popular show. I always thought like he was the best character. Like people liked Joey. Obviously Monica and Rachel are like, perfect 10s, but
just
beaming. As far as like the character of the 6 characters on the show, probably the best character, probably the funniest one overall, I think was Chandler Bing. I think it was Matthew Perry. I'm not just saying that today. I think I always
I don't think it's close.
Yeah.
Like I would say that Lisa Kudrow had her moments of being like funny, but like consistently funny show to show. And again, it's a show that I never really like loved like everybody, but it was on before Seinfeld, so I kind of had to watch it. And it was just like by far like the funniest person on the show.
Yeah, he was good. And then he did the whole 9 yards, then the whole 10 yards. The whole 9 yards is a pretty good movie.
Remember, we saw that movie in the theater together, like by accident. Like we were supposed to go see something else on a Florida baseball trip, and we it was like the wrong time or something, or we weren't going to get done in time. Like we had to go, and we watched and we're like, all right, just fuck it. We're just going to watch the whole 9 yards. And we were like crying, laughing.
Like, this was actually pretty damn good. Yeah.
That movie was funny.
Pretty good. So yeah, that was obviously sad, and all his co-stars and stuff have come out. Had a lot of nice things to say. Oh, did you see the Heather? Oh, no. Who was it? It was Gwyneth Paltrow's Instagram post.
Oh, God damn it, no.
Like in the middle of her post, she basically was like talking about how they like hooked up. It's like she just kind of just put that out there. Like in '93, like we did all this stuff together. We like hooked up or whatever. And like
she's
like,
just
whoa.
like she cannot
cannot
not make it about her. You know, like
like
come on, man.
That's not really what this is about.
Does he's not married or anything? He's confirmed bachelor. He wasn't married. No kids.
I don't think so. I think he's had a few celebrity girlfriends though, perhaps along the way. But yeah, I think that might be right. We talked a couple weeks ago about how Disney Plus is like jacking up their prices. Apple Plus is bumping up the monthly subscription fee as well. They were at $1.499, and then I think it went to $6.99. It's now going to be $9.99.
And again, that's not enough for me for like in just like Ted Lasso. And I know that show. What's it shrinking? Where's the
Severance was great.
Severance was great, but there was also the show with Jason Segel.
Yep, that's shrinking.
Yeah, I guess that was good too, but I can't justify.
No,
something's got to go.
Well, and they only have like their shows and like their movies. Like there's no like real back catalogs because like Disney and HBO, you're like there's all this stuff that you can go back and watch anyway. But on Apple, I'm like, I'm good.
Now I'm starting to think too is like Are we at the point now where if I have to get all these streaming services, I just might as well have cable? Are we at that point now?
Yeah, maybe.
Has it like flipped?
Well, no, because I think like if you get cable, you can't get Netflix originals or Apple originals. Like you can't get all those shows, and a lot of times those shows are better shows.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Netflix, The Killer, David Fincher's next movie, is going to be out November 10th. It's in theaters now, so it's one of those weird ones where it's like it's both. We're going to put it in theaters for a couple of weeks. People can tell you whether they like it or not, and then it's going to be on Netflix.
Do you think that's for like an awards thing?
Must be. Yeah, like didn't The Irishman do that for like?
Yeah,
hey,
you have to put it in theaters, like a certain amount of theaters. Yeah. Oh, well, also Scorsese's all about cinema too. Fucking asshole.
He is. Oh, his movie's supposed to be really good though.
Yes.
What is that one like?
Killers of the Flower Moon or something.
Yeah. So The Killer's coming out and The Killers of the Flower Moon. It's confusing.
Yeah. I don't like it.
But yeah, Jesse Plemons is in that though. That guy's good. He's a good actor. Yeah. That's a nice little actor right there.
What's funny, I think you remember him so he was in Friday Night Lights, he was in a bunch of stuff, and then like he gained weight to like for Fargo, like the show Fargo, which by the way is coming back. Did you know that?
Really?
Like soon? Yeah.
I'll watch it.
Yeah. The first 3 seasons of that show are so goddamn good.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to the 4th one, but anyway,
not good.
I feel like Jesse Plemons like gained weight for like Fargo and then just couldn't figure out how to get rid of it again.
Or is like, I'm getting all these roles. They like me like this, so I'll just stay like this.
I'm married to Kirsten Dunst looking like this. I'm doing okay.
Doing fine. Doing just fine. He's gonna win a couple Oscars someday. That guy.
Oh yeah.
Count on that. All right, let's rip it here because this is gonna be a shorter episode because 1, my Wi-Fi for some reason is down tonight, and 2, I haven't slept in a day.
It's time for Davey's video game minute, even if it takes more than a minute.
All right, Ryan, what do you have?
Well, I tell you, I'm still playing that Spider-Man game. I tell you, I have finished all the side missions, and I'm told that I'm about halfway through the main game, and I'm at 70% completion.
All right, good.
So like I'm doing main missions now, and it's kind of killing me. But like I just found out, so that's great. Everything's going awesome. There was one thing that just happened in the game that I did not expect that I'm so glad happened.
Cool.
We can talk about that off air. And
I don't want to hear
don't hear it. No. It's one of those like you start doing it and you're like, oh, like one of those. So it was really cool. But I want to kind of get done because it's getting really good reviews. Speaking of spooky seasons, and when we were ping-ponging back and forth and you're like, I'm tired, I don't know what we're gonna do. Could you do your best 6 horror games? The one that I was gonna mention is a game called Alan Wake. Alan Wake 2 just came out and the reviews are remarkable. So I'm really looking forward to playing Alan Wake 2. Maybe someday we bring back the stream. I don't know. I have zero time to do it, but might be something there. Who knows?
Yeah, I agree. All right.
So that's the video game minute right there for you. Oh, and I guess Mario Wonder is really good.
Okay.
The new Mario game.
Oh, that's
not for kids. So what I'm told, the review that I got from a trusted source is that it's really good. Don't let your kids play it because it's frustrating. Like it'll kill them. It'll kill their spirits. But Bluey in 2 weeks.
I know. I'm getting that. That'll be good. All right. Very good, Ryan. Thank you.
Y'all ready for bisque?
Topic du jour time, Ryan. Are you
prepared? Come on. What do you say?
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's the topic of the day. Today, it is The Fall of the House of Usher, the Netflix series by Mike Flanagan. 8 episodes in all about an hour long. We'll begin as we do with all of our movie and TV reviews, spoiler free. Ryan, did you like it?
You know what, Richard? I fucking did.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
It's fucking awesome.
It was pretty great.
Yeah.
It was funny. The trailer didn't suck me in as some of the other Mike Flanagan trailers. It sucked me in the past, but I was like, well, it's Flanagan. It's the same cast of characters or actors and actresses. So I'm like, I'll give it a go. And then once I saw that first episode, I'm like, yeah, I'm in on this. I like all this shit.
So you and my wife were like, you need to watch it. You need to watch it. You need to watch it. And I was like, fine. So I, like you said, I watched the first episode and I was like, what do we have here? Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So his other shows were The Haunting of Hill House, which we did a standalone episode on, The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I believe we also may have done a standalone episode.
I think we did. Yeah.
Midnight Mass,
which we did not.
No, but me and my sister-in-law Nicole did like
Yep.
maybe just a YouTube like half
A
hour
dink?
talk. We did a dink on it.
Yep.
And they did Midnight Club, which I actually never saw. People that's gotten kind of mixed reviews though.
Mhm.
Did you ever see that?
I did not watch it.
Okay.
Mhm.
But so yeah, so anyway, so then this one jumps out there and I'll tell you what, I thought it was scary at times, but like with Flanagan stuff, the jump scares are what literally jump you out of your seat. There was one in episode 2, and I have a nice home theater setup down here. So I have the fucking the speakers that are cranked and the whole thing. And there was one scene in episode 2 where you kind of knew something was coming too, but you weren't sure when. I like jumped out of my seat and did like a kick in the air because I was just like fucking got me. And it was the way they like built it up. And then when it came, there was like a crack in the speakers behind me, and my whole body moved. It was nuts.
Well, so just to like set the scene, so you have two characters talking to each other in a living room, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And it's so like the conversation they're having is so like you can't miss a detail.
Yes.
And I think that's what Flanagan knows that when they write this, like they're listening to something that's really important, and it's like bam, like like you said, it just all over your ears.
And it was the way to, and there's a handful of these jump scares. I don't know if any of them were actually, I'd put that one up there with the Midnight Mass one, or not Midnight Mass, the Haunting of Hill House one when they're in the car.
That one goes crazy.
Yeah, that one went hard for sure.
Yeah.
But this one, it was also the way, and it was Bruce Greenwood, the actor who's playing Roderick Usher, the father of the whole thing. He is so compelling. He's incredible in this. Like he should win whatever the awards are that he can win. I thought he was awesome. And he's telling a story, and the way the story ends is about to end on a note. And rather than letting him get to the note, it flashed to something. And I was like, ah.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. It like knows exactly when you're like on the edge of your seat.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're expecting a right, you get the left.
Yeah.
You know, so but this show to me, and thinking of all like the Mike Flanagan show, Flanagan, right? Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
This to me, so Hill House to me was the scarier of the two,
definitely.
but this is his best show.
Ooh, yeah, I could see that. I love how they did
the way it's written. Like the story is his best.
It's such a cool idea too to take all of these Edgar Allan Poe poems and short stories and mash them all together. And I enjoy the Edgar Allan Poe stuff. It's not like I'm sitting here reading it. Like it's pretty dense, and it's but like some of the stories are really cool, and they intertwine all of this stuff with obviously a very modern tale and twist, and like sort of what the House of Usher is and like how they make their money and everything else. You know, he's the CEO of this big pharmaceutical company, but then they do a time jump too. And so Matt Saracen from Friday Night Lights plays the younger version of Bruce Greenwood's Roderick Usher. I thought those two were both great. His sister, Mary McDonnell in Present, and then Willa Fitzgerald, who was actually in the Scream TV show. That was the first time
I saw that because I knew she looked familiar, but I couldn't place her.
Yeah, she was in MTV's Scream, which was actually pretty good. Anyway, I thought
the mask was all fucked up though, right? Like there wasn't the right mask.
Well, it was weird. It wasn't really Scream. It had nothing to do with Woodsboro. It had nothing to do with like Nev Campbell's Scream.
I don't think they could. I think it was like there must have been like a thing there.
There must have been like it's not a shared universe, but it's like Scream. So yeah, it was a different face for sure.
But anyway, so I feel like she was excellent.
Yes,
there were some scenes with with Madeline.
Mm-hmm.
That was the younger Madeline, like talking, having like these monologues that were really, really good.
Yeah, Flanagan stuff's pretty famous for the monologues. Midnight Mass took it to like another extreme with like their long monologues, but Bruce Greenwood was fascinating, and that whole setup and just them being in the house and you're not sure what the fuck's going up and what the fuck's going down. So you would say must watch then if you think this is his best show.
I mean, if you're into, I mean, especially now when you're in the spooky season right now, if you're going to rip through something this week to end Dorktober, check this out. The show is actually so well written, so well acted, really, really good.
What is your Dork score?
5.5.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna go 5. I could maybe be talked into 5.5, but I'm gonna go rock hard 5.
Okay, so 5.25, I feel like is right where it should be.
Probably should be. Yeah.
Yep.
Elevate it from the 5s.
It's one of one of the best shows I've seen this year.
Nice. All right.
It's no Bear.
No. It'll be a dogfight to see if it gets nominated for a Dorky because there's a lot of good shows. But yeah, no, this one's for consideration. So if you guys saw the show, let us know what your score is for the fall of the House of Usher. I'm going 5. Dave's going 5.5.
Spoilers! Spoilers! Here come the spoilers!
All right, so obviously a lot going on in this, but you have the very mysterious Carla Gugino's character. She plays Myrna, who you see her throughout this series, and you're like, what the fuck is her deal? What's going on? You find out that it is an anagram for Raven. So landed on pretty thick with the real Edgar Allan Poe stuff. But just cutting to the end here, because they do a good job telling the story back and forth, and you see where Roderick Usher is originally, and like where he and his sister are, who their father is, but then like ultimately where they're at in life and how they're trying to make their way. And suddenly they get a deal. They get a proposition from Carlo Gugino's character, and essentially it is, you will have whatever you want. You'll never get in trouble with the law. You can kind of do whatever you please, and you'll have fortunes that you can't even spend. The catch is if when you die, your whole bloodline dies as well.
And this is like, so obviously the conversation comes up. Do you take that deal?
So at the time, they're both in their 20s, maybe 30s.
Oh no, because I looked at it because I wanted to see. So on the death date of Roderick Usher, it's 1950. So at the time in 1980, they're 30. They just turned 30.
So they're 30, and he has 2 kids.
Yes.
And she has none.
Right.
And they do a quick follow-up question, and they're like, well, like, do we die soon? Or like, do we, and they're like, and she was like, no, I assure you, you have like a long, like natural life.
Mm-hmm.
I think once you have the kids, you fucking can't do it.
But so to me, if I had no kids, fine. And I would do what Madeline, I just wouldn't have kids. I wouldn't get married. I wouldn't have kids.
Yeah, she made sure she didn't, and that was that.
And there was a conversation between the two of them where she's like, you are who you are. Like you were going to do that anyway, like sticking what have you, and anything. But that's who you are. Like that's the, you know what I mean?
But it also helped explain in a way why when he did hear about 3 of his, like, for lack of a better word, like 3 of his like bastard children, like he immediately kind of like took them in and took care of them.
Yeah.
It was weird because it was like sort of like they remembered the deal that they made, but they also in a way blocked out the deal that they made. They also were wondering if that was even legit. But like once all the kids started dying, wouldn't they be like, oh fuck, we're next year?
Well, there was that, he was coming out of the funeral of the first 3 and like he kind of passed out and got the bloody nose, and he says it's time.
Yeah.
Like he knew, like, all right, here it comes. And I got to tell you, there was one of the kids' deaths. Like I didn't really care about a lot of them.
Right. No, I definitely
kind of wanted them all to die, but then there was one where you're just like, and that was Lenore.
Yes.
Where you're just like, because you kind of knew, and I was hoping that like since the mother was like kind of on the fence about being faithful or not with Frederick, that like Freddie, that you could, maybe it wasn't his.
Good point. Yeah, that was definitely the one where you're like, oh no, fuck. And because I think they make it kind of, they almost want you to not like the kids. The kids are all terrible in their own way.
They're awful.
They're all horrible people. I don't know what the fuck Henry Thomas is up to. That guy.
Oh, just he's on the booger sugar the whole time.
He's wild. And then what he ends up doing to his wife is fucking awful.
Well, what happens to him with the pit and the pendulum?
And then
that was super cool. So the other question I have too is, if you're one of these children, like who are you?
Oh my God. I guess Kate Siegel, because she's in the media. So I guess I would be like, all right, I'm more likely to do that. I'm not testing things on monkeys. Nope. I'm not doing the thing with the P90X where I'm like a cuck and I have my wife have a guy come over and eat dinner in front of me and then have sex in front of me.
Eat ass and read a book. I was dying. So that's the
That
other
was
thing
funny.
about the show. I not to interrupt, but there were some oddly funny moments in the show
Yeah, there was.
I loved, not part of the family, but I loved the Pim Reaper, Mark Hamill's character.
Mark Hamill was incredible in this. Yeah, Arthur Gordon Pym. They give you a little bit of his backstory, and he's just he's the fixer. So like whatever you need done, he can do it. And they make a point. They're like, we go up against people that have like 20 lawyers. Like we just have Pym. Like we only need Pym.
So it's funny because there's a Poe story with him in it, and it involves like a trip around the world. Did you do your research on this?
I did. Well, I kind of after the fact because there's like the 5 stories that everybody knows.
And it's funny, and I've read more Poe than I thought. Like that's
I
what
bet. Like
smart. Like I didn't know I read that story, but then when they're like, oh, we tried to finish Pym's story, like he wouldn't talk about some of it, and like we kind of joked that like maybe he like ate somebody, and like, but in the book that happens.
Oh, funny. So
he doesn't partake in it, but he watches it. Like
if you're a big Edgar Allan Poe fan, I bet you fucking love this show because every character is named off of a character from one of his stories or poems, and they just mix them all together. So like, some are more obscure than others, and like the names of each episode too are the first one's just called The Midnight Dreary, which of course is a part of the Raven. But then you have the Mask of the Red Death, the murder,
which is a cool story. If you've never read that one's actually really cool.
I don't know if I've read that one.
So basically, it's pretty close. So the story is like there's this like prince or like duke of like this town, right? And there's a plague in the town. So he invites everybody over to his house. That all like the rich people, and like they let all the poor people die, and then someone comes in that he doesn't know who's infected, and everyone dies.
Got it.
And they like bar the doors, and like no one can get out.
Got it. Then you have Murder in the Rue Morgue. You have the Black Cat, you have the Telltale Heart, you have Goldbug, you have the Pit and the Pendulum, and then you end with the Raven. So it's like all of Poe's greatest hits. And it's funny, like, so some of it is it becomes sort of predictable in a way, right? Like once it sets the parameters for the show, you're like, each kid, we know they're all dead because it opens at a funeral, for God's sakes. Right. So you know they're all dead, how they're gonna die. One of the scariest parts too, I thought, of the whole show was when they're leaving the funeral and they get inside the limo. And it's the guy that the
jester,
like jester mask, and he's like moving around. That whole story was cool too. When they bury him alive and they take over for him.
So that's the cask of Amontillado. That's a Poe story. They actually do that to somebody, and same story. But like, and I'm thinking about this, like thinking all these things that people are doing, and they're happening, like these Poe stories. I'm like, that guy's fucked up. No, like, how do you think of that?
King of the Macabre.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're talking 2 weeks ago. He died at like 40 years old, and he had like already written all these crazy fucking things. It was funny. I went back to read The Fall of the House of Usher. It's a hard read because like just the way he takes like 6 pages to describe like what the fucking chimney looks like. It's like one of those kind of books, but it's interesting. No, but I think the flashbacks and everything are great, but just the 2 guys sitting in an abandoned like fucking house, which you find out the significance of the house, but just those 2 guys sitting there having their back and forth, and then you find out how long they've known each other. He's not in the FBI, but whatever the fuck,
the DA.
The DA, just how long they've known each other, and then you see that flashback all the way to where they are right then. It's really good,
dude. And again, I love the clever take on this stuff. And what gets me too is like there's a social commentary here, which we don't talk about a ton on here, but like the idea that to these billionaires, these people who own these pharmaceutical conglomerates, or these, whatever, like they don't really give these people who are like ruining the environment or like ruining the economy, like they don't give a fuck about their kids or their grandkids or whatever. They just want as much as they can get for them. I think of like, who's that fucking melted ice cream in the set? Was it Mitch McConnell or somebody like, like who just like, they don't give a shit about anyone but themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's good. And then you're right. And then, cause then he's always talking about, Lenore, like his granddaughter. He's like, he's the best of us. Right. Like even he realized like his kids are all fucked, and he's like, but she's the one. And then there's like, while they're sitting in there, there's the thunder and lightning, and then he sees all of his kids again at different times, and he's like, they're all here, they're all fucking with me. And the other guy's like, are you fucking with me? And he's just like, no. But like you'd see him walk in the back, and that was like so haunting of Hill House stuff. And you're like, oh boy. And then when the thunder would clap, and then you'd see like the Perry's face, that was the one I was talking about.
Perry was like super close to him.
And he's like all burnt or acid burned or whatever.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that scared me. But also there's the where he's like, oh yeah, Madeline's downstairs. And so like the whole time you're watching, you're like, fuck, is she downstairs?
Is she
like,
dead? Yeah.
Is she coming up here? Like, are we gonna go downstairs? Like, what the fuck is going on right now? But yeah, like uneasy. I think like Flanagan does a good job of making you like uneasy with a lot of things, and because he's so famous for his like long monologues combined with jump scares, so it's a really good formula.
But it was also cool too. It was a cool vehicle to have like the ghosts of the kids with him because they were like,
yeah,
what's his name? Dupin, the DA, was like, how do you know this? Like you weren't there. Like there was, and he's like, well, they told me.
Yes, yeah.
But it's funny too, like watching that guy who doesn't believe a word he says, like slowly throughout eight episodes, like starts believing him.
Yes,
because what he's telling you is ridiculous. Like his dead kids are talking to him, and like this demon is after him. Who like made this deal with him, and like in a place that never existed, on a night that he kind of remembers but not really.
Yeah,
and he's telling me he has dementia, so it's like okay, like.
Well, it was nuts too. Like the whole story with Pym. And like he went to like figure out who Verna was.
Yeah.
And like he's trying to figure it out. He eventually kind of like does, and you have all the pictures with her with all these famous people over time, which is also a cool little thing. But then it's like she offers Pym a deal, and he's like, nope.
Let's roll the dice here. What is he? There's a great line. He says, I've never. He's like, no one's ever had like sway over me, or no one's ever had. I forget how he said it, but he said something like no one's ever had the upper hand on me, and I'm not going to start now.
Yeah, pretty good. So he just goes to jail for the rest of his life, and he's
which is like fine. I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
And there's a line when what's her name, Juno. He was trying to kick the Ligatol or whatever.
God. Oh, what a character Juno is.
Oh, she's just such like so out of place and so weird. But she says something that like I would rather spend 3 years in like agony than an eternity with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, that's a good line.
Yeah. She was an interesting looking character for sure.
Harsh features.
Yeah. Aggressive, but yeah, she had some funny lines in there too. Just like how like all the kids treated her. It was just fucking mean.
Oh, so the funny part I was thinking, of was they saw Verna at like the security desk, and he's like, enhance, and Pym's like, yeah, I can zoom in, but that doesn't work like that. He's like, where's the sound? He's like, yeah, I don't really have sound on security cameras, man.
Right.
Like, see it on TV all the time. Just enhance it. He's like, yeah, no, that's not how that works.
No, it's true.
I think were I in that family, I would absolutely, like you said, what was the Kate Siegel's character? Camille.
Yeah.
I told Ryan, I was like, I would go full Judas contract on everybody. I would have files on all of you.
Yeah. Have to.
I would know. Yep. I would know everything about all. I would hire private detectives just to like get your dirt, so you wouldn't mess with me.
Although one of the guys is a video game creator, although he just really
funds it. He doesn't do anything. He just kind of funds it. Yeah. And I love cats, so I don't want to like.
Yeah, true.
I don't know them to look at me, but I'm a big cat guy. Cats love me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I have like people are like every dog will like come up to them.
Yeah.
Me and cats. Cats, we get it.
Cats do not care for me.
I like dogs.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But dogs like could take me or leave me. Like cats, like every time I'm in a house, a cat will find me.
Cats are where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very very clever, and I enjoyed it. I ended up ripping right through the whole goddamn thing. And I didn't write them down, so I forget some of them off the top of my head, but there was definitely a couple of good chuckles every episode too. Like there were some lighter moments. Like Pym, not supposed to be funny, but like he had some funny moments. We mentioned Henry Thomas just being so over the top with his character, but even the other thing that has to be told, and it's probably on Netflix now, or I've seen it on Twitter, the whole "When life hands you lemons" thing.
Oh, what a
Greenwood's response was the guy's like, "Yeah, make lemonade." He's like, "Fuck that," and he like goes through this whole long monologue about like what. Yeah, it's really good. Really.
Then he's like, and then when you're done, when you're retired and there's nothing else to do, then you make lemonade. But he's like, you get a PR campaign about how lemons are more like nutritious than an apple, and you like all this stuff.
And he's like, die without lemons. It's like this whole thing. He's
your
like,
wife will not fuck you without lemons.
You like create a shortage or whatever. It's like this whole long thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And there was the With the other thing, there's I took away from the show the golden rule. What's the golden rule? The person with the most gold makes the rules.
Oh, that was a good line. Yeah, yeah. That was
Yeah.
another good
What's
line.
the golden rule? Like the person with the most gold makes the rules.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. As much as I liked Matt Saracen, it did seem like a bit of a leap to go from like the way Saracen handled himself to Bruce Greenwood.
Well, I think once I mean, it's like that thing. Like if you knew you could do whatever you wanted,
Yeah.
what would you do? And like what that does to a
Chicks
person
at the
over
same
time.
Yeah.
Well, right. But like and I think one of the things that Verna says is that I think hits home for both of them is like, you're never going to get in trouble for anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you want. You can live like, and I think that was why, by the way, we didn't mention how, what's her name's, Madeline's whole thing was like, she wanted to live forever.
Yeah.
Like, figure out a way to live forever. So she wouldn't have, for them to live forever. So it wouldn't.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of thing, but yeah.
I think this will be good too. I'm not going to rewatch it right away, but I am probably going to rewatch it at some point. And now, like knowing what you know, like to see how many clues they really give you early on and like throughout.
Yeah. Well, it's like So with Hill House too, when they're like the thing came out where Mike Flanagan's like, yeah, there's a ghost in every scene.
Yeah.
Like then you have to watch it again and like see to find. And I think I found all of them, but it was.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. And just like the Edgar Allan Poe references are just off the charts, and I'm sure there's like some real deep cuts in there that I had no idea what they were.
I'd never read Goldbug, but I read like a synopsis of it now, and that's pretty interesting.
All right. What's that one?
So it's basically like this guy's obsessed with gold.
Okay.
And like he just like can't get enough of it, and like he can't sleep, and like also it's kind of like that. But there was here's a story for you. So
yes.
Is based. So the thing when Tammy dies with like the mirrors, that's based on a story called William Wilson, where this guy thinks he sees his double. Remember the whole thing? Like Verna and her were like they were like switching places.
Yeah, that was.
So he thinks like he has a double, and he winds up like looking in a mirror and like stabbing himself. Like so.
That's pretty.
Do you know? By the way, fun fact: I've told you this story. I don't know if I told you on the podcast before that I have a double.
You have a double?
I do. I know it for a fact.
Really?
Yes. Can I tell you this story?
Sure.
So a girl we went to high school with,
okay,
who I was very close with,
you know
the one I'm talking about.
Go on.
Called me. Remember she did. So this girl we were friends with, she did a gap year, and she traveled all over the world, and everywhere she went, she would work. Like she worked on like a citrus farm in Greece.
Yeah.
And she did like all this stuff. So she called me in my dorm room, believe it or not, from Spain one day. And I'm like, oh, here's the call I've been waiting for, Rich. Here's the call I've been waiting for 3 years, right?
Yep.
Wasn't that?
No.
And she was like, you'll never believe what happened. She's like, I ran up to a person in Spain in the airport and hugged this person and was like, oh my God, like, what are you doing here? Like, I thought you were in school, like, blah, blah, blah. This person who I was very close with thought this person was me.
I was not.
And the guy was apparently from like Denmark or like the Netherlands. He's like, I don't know who you think I am. It's like, I'm not him.
So there's a Dutch Davey out there.
There is. And like, I'm freaked out. And I remember saying to her, I'm like, hey, do you know what you just did? And she's like, what? I'm like, I'm so glad to hear from you. But now this guy knows I exist.
Right. And now he has to end you.
Now he's looking for me.
Clearly he is. Now
I've read enough comic books to know I either have to team up with this dude or kill him. Because now he's looking for me.
Probably the latter. Yeah. There can only be one.
I got a Scarlet Spider out there.
Oh my God.
I got a Ben Reilly out there looking for me.
How do you sleep at night?
I don't.
Yeah. All right. Just stay sharp. Stay sharp. Oh, but go back to that Tamerlan book. That reminded me of that scene when she started to freak out when she was doing the presentation, and then all of a sudden she just fucking slams Juno. When Juno got absolutely destroyed, you're like, oh my God.
I was actually nervous laughing at like what the fuck are you doing here? I mean, and then she tries to save it. She's like, what are we all doing here? Huh? Am I right?
Like she was just like, yeah, like she was like trying to,
yeah.
I'm just trying to be supportive, and then she gets just destroyed because they were like, she had the hallucination. She thought they were all watching like a sex tape of her and her husband, but really like, the escort and her husband. Like,
did you like eat her ass while she reads a book?
Yep. So funny.
So funny.
So funny. All right, dude. Anything else on Follow the House of Usher?
It's really good. Please watch it. Let me know what you think. I want to know what you all think about it.
Agreed. We got some 5s and 5.5s in the chat. So people, I think people who did watch it, I think that for sure liked it.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the bomb. Pick of the bomb.
All right, Ryan, kick, receive, defer, or defend a goal.
I will receive because I will go quickly. So two major things that I have to talk about. One, my pick of the pod for this week, Shoresy is back for season 2 on Hulu. If you haven't watched Shoresy yet, and you're a fan of hockey and have been around hockey, this show is funny for non-hockey players, but it's like one of those shows that's like the more hockey you've played, the funnier it is. And if you've played junior hockey, you know exactly where these jokes are coming from.
Gotcha.
Secondly, this is the last week of October, Richard, which means by the next time you see me,
that's right,
I will look slightly different. And my dear friends, this is believe it or not, the 15th year I've been associated with the good people of Movember. So it is our 15 year. So I've been doing this a long time. They told me, the people of Movember who I'm in touch with told me that we have raised, I say we, not just me, all of us have raised, if we do what we did last year, this year, we will have raised over $30,000 for this charity in over 15 years. So something I'm really proud of, something that's very near and dear to my heart. So please be on the lookout for those links. We'll send them out. If you want to join a team, you can join my team, or we can just if you want to donate, let me know how you want to do that. Raising awareness for men's health. Let's do it.
Love it. Yeah, well, more on that next week for sure, including the links, like Davey said. On Netflix now is the Jennifer Lawrence comedy No Hard Feelings. I ripped that. Awesome.
I started it, was not into it, but does it get better?
I liked it. I watched it on the plane, so I was like locked in and I wasn't going anywhere. But
That's a good plane movie, I think.
Yeah. And then she's running around naked. I'm like looking around. I'm like, oh, okay. But no, it was good. It was good. All right, next week, Gen V. So I don't know where you're at on Gen V.
Boy, I gotta get going. Gotta get going. Yeah.
All right, very good. Sorry for the short episode. We'll be back to our normal length and girth next week. But that'll do it for us. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Dork Podcast. You can email us your should I have bought this to dorkpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, Ryan promised me 1,000,000 times over you will never do another rule.
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna do that.